We are right on the edge of a massive shift in how we build, well, everything in the digital world. It's a revolution, really, and it's being driven by AI. It promises to basically shrink the distance between a simple idea and a real working product. And it's got this awesome name, vibe coding.
You know this feeling, right? If you're a designer, a dev, a product manager, you've been there. You get this flash of a brilliant idea, but then the process of getting it out of your head and into something real, something a user can actually touch and feel, that part can be such a slog.
I mean, the traditional way, it's methodical, it's reliable. We do our sketches, we build out the wireframes, we create these polished mock-ups, get feedback, and then we do it all over again. It works. But my gosh, every single step in that chain just eats up time, effort, and way too many meetings.
But what if you could just skip all that? This quote from Andrej Karpathy, it points to a totally different way of thinking. It's about focusing on the feeling, the vibe of what you want to make, and just letting something else worry about the tedious stuff, the actual code.
And that's the promise we're going to dig into. A direct jump from a thought bubble to a working prototype, practically in an instant. But yeah, that little trap on the slide, it's there for a reason. This kind of speed, it's not a free lunch. There are risks.
So, what in the world is vibe coding? Well, at its core, it's pretty simple. You use one of these super powerful AIs, these large language models you keep hearing about, to spit out the code for a user interface, just by telling it what you want, in plain English. You describe the vibe, the AI builds it.
This right here, this comparison says it all. The old way, slow, linear, one step after another. The new way is this super fast iterative loop. The team has an idea, the AI builds a prototype, and you're getting feedback almost immediately. The whole point isn't to replace designers, it's to give them superpowers.
Okay, to make this a little more real, check out this case study from Purdue University. They started with these incredibly simple lo-fi mock-ups. I mean, there's nothing fancy here at all, just a basic idea for a traffic analytics tool, kind of sketched out. And from that, look at what they got. The AI generated these rich, complex, fully interactive interfaces. This jump from a super basic sketch to a working prototype, this is what has everyone so excited. Doing this the old way would have taken ages.
Which, of course, brings us to the big question. If you can make something this sophisticated, this quickly, what's the catch? Why isn't everyone doing this for absolutely everything? What are the real-world trade-offs? So let's step out of the theory and get down to the ground level. We're going to look at what the pros are actually seeing out there, both the incredible promise and, the new dangers that are popping up. This quote from a product manager on Reddit just cuts right to the chase. The biggest win isn't just being faster once. It's about multiplying your chances to explore. Think about it. Instead of betting on just one or two ideas, you can now test 5 or 6 and let the best one actually win, based on real feedback. And here's another huge plus. These tools are breaking down the old team silos. A product manager can now spin up a really nice-looking design to get a conversation started, without having to wait in line for the design team. It just empowers everyone and makes the whole process faster.
But all this speed is kicking off a pretty big debate. On one side, you've got the skeptics. They say making these super polished prototypes so fast is actually a bad thing. Users see something beautiful and say, I love it, even if the core idea is terrible. Plus, it sets crazy expectations for the engineers. But on the other side, you have the proponents. They argue that those old, ugly mock-ups can actually get great ideas killed because nobody can see the real potential. And if a high-fidelity prototype costs basically nothing to make, why wouldn't you show your idea in the best possible light?
So this new superpower comes with a whole new set of traps. It's so easy to fall in love with a beautiful AI-generated design, even if the idea behind it is kind of weak. It's really tempting to promise timelines based on how fast the prototype was made, which is a nightmare for engineers. And there's this sneaky danger that the AI just keeps giving you boring, conventional designs, and you end up just tweaking pixels instead of testing the actual idea.
And that brings us to a much more serious conversation. Because the challenges aren't just about workflow issues. When you start weaving these incredibly powerful AI tools into how you design and build things, you suddenly inherit a whole new set of responsibilities.
Look, anytime we're using generative AI, we're basically dealing with the same set of core risks.
You've got to worry about data privacy, about not knowing how the AI is making decisions, about it just making stuff up. And then there's the huge risk of building in harmful bias, and of course opening up all sorts of new security holes.
And if you think the whole making stuff up problem is minor, check this out. A Stanford study found that when top AI models were asked specific legal questions, their answers were completely fabricated, what they call hallucinated, up to 88% of the time. Now imagine you built a critical feature based on that kind of output. Yikes.
To make these risks feel a little less abstract, let's just imagine a person. This is Sarah. She's a product manager at a fintech company, and just like everyone else, she's really excited to use AI to work faster.
So in one scenario, Sarah uses an AI tool to go through customer feedback. The problem is, she doesn't realize the tool is just sucking up all this sensitive user data without making it anonymous first. All of a sudden, she's not just making a prototype, she's creating a massive privacy nightmare for her company and its customers.
Or how about this? Sarah asked the AI to help her create some user personas for a new budgeting app. The AI does it fast, but the result is just full of lazy stereotypes. It paints men as investors and women as shoppers. If she builds a product on that biased foundation, that harm just gets baked right into the software.
So how do we get all the amazing speed of vibe coding without falling into all these traps? Well, the answer isn't to just throw the tech away. It's to create a new playbook, a smarter way of using it.
The Responsible AI Playbook gives us this fantastic gut check for any project. Before you even start, you've got to ask these questions. Could what the AI makes reinforce stereotypes? Is it okay if this thing is wrong sometimes? Are we touching any sensitive data? Can we tell our users how the AI is involved? And what's our plan to stop people from misusing it? This is the new homework you have to do. And that really brings us to the most important point of all. AI-powered prototyping is an absolutely incredible new tool in our toolbox. But that's what it is, one tool. It's not the only tool. The smartest teams are going to be the ones who mix the speed of AI with the serious work of traditional validation. User interviews, checking analytics, and real research to get the best of both worlds.
So we'll end on this thought. There is no question that AI lets us build faster than ever before in human history. The real question, the one we all have to answer, is whether we'll have the wisdom and the foresight to make sure that what we build is also better, safer, and more fair for everyone. That's the real challenge ahead of us.